looking at the Phoenix Suns, hot garbage. Hot garbage.
Kevin Durant, you have to make this work in Phoenix. You have no more outs.
Like at this point, Durant, this is what you wanted. You got your way. And you're there, and it's on you to fix it.
After a decade-long playoff drought, the Phoenix Suns suddenly became a championship contender. A trip to the 2021 finals and a league-best 64 wins in the season after established the Suns as a team that would be contending for years to come. But last season brought dramatic change to the Valley. On and off the court, the current Suns look a lot different from the group that returned the organization to relevance. The biggest difference, of course, has been the addition of Kevin Durant. But many of the same problems that plagued Kevin Durant's Brooklyn teams are happening again in Phoenix. With a top-heavy team relying on a trio of stars, this season has been close to the Suns' worst-case scenario, and it could be getting even worse. A shallow bench, poor health, and discontent from their best player could ensure a messy downfall that significantly sets the franchise back for the foreseeable future. So before we get to the content, we've been dropping content a little bit earlier for channel members. If you're interested in supporting the channel, make sure you click the join button and check us out. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. We made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, bam, bam. Bam! My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code microphone to double your deposit up until $100 on Prize Picks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The pressure was high for Phoenix entering the 2022-23 season. The organization was still getting the bitter taste out of their mouths from one of the biggest Game 7 losses in NBA history. In a winner-take-all home game with a chance to advance to the Western Conference Finals, the Phoenix Suns shat the bed. They scored a measly 27 points in the first half against the Dallas Mavericks and trailed by as many as 46 points on their way to an embarrassing 33-point loss. Their hopes of another finals run up in smoke. However, the team's playoff failure didn't lead to major changes in the 2022 offseason, although it did lead to some hurt feelings that made it a bit more complicated when the next season began. Their higher salaried players limited cap space, so they mostly made smaller additions like Josh Okogie, Damian Lee, and Jock Landale, who signed smaller contracts. Their most significant basketball development was DeAndre Aton's complicated free agency. As the #1 overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft, DeAndre Aton always had big expectations attached to him. The man consistently averaged a double-double, but fell short of playing like an all-star. Although he was an important piece to the team's finals run and 64-win season, picking him at the top of the 2018 NBA draft aged poorly considering that Luka Doncic was there for the taking. In that fateful Game 7 against Luka and the Mavs, Aton only saw the court for less than 18 minutes, finishing with just 5 points and 4 rebounds. Head coach Monty Williams was asked about DeAndre Aton's lack of playing time after that game, and he simply said it's internal. DeAndre Aton didn't forget that when his free agency came along that summer. He wanted a new deal, but since he was a restricted free agent, Phoenix could match any offer he got from another team. In mid-July, he signed the largest offer sheet in league history with Indiana, a 4-year deal for $133 million. In order to avoid losing their starting center for nothing, the Phoenix Suns had no choice but to match the offer shortly after, bringing DeAndre Aton back to the Valley. And you could see that DeAndre Aton wasn't so excited about this.
Congratulations on obviously getting the deal. Just maybe your thoughts that now that you got that. Maybe what was your initial reaction once the Suns matched the Pacers offer?
I was happy. It was all done, I guess.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns reaffirmed their commitment to Monty Williams, who agreed to a long-term extension after winning Coach of the Year. Besides, who would fire their head coach that shortly after a 64-win season and after taking their organization to the NBA Finals? But there was still some lingering animosity. Aton made a stunning admission during Media Day about his overall attitude towards the team and the state of his relationship with Williams.
How have you and Monty kind of been able to move
I haven't spoken to Monty. No, I haven't spoken to him at all. Ever since the game.
So not even
No.
Hoping that changes it soon.
I'm here.
Are you happy to be here, DA?
Yeah, I'm alright.
This may be the unhappiest anyone has ever sounded after getting a brand new contract, and yet the biggest changes happening around the Phoenix Suns came from the very top. Little do they know then, but a change of events off the court would lead to a major reshaping on the court. Back in early November 2021, ESPN released an article outlining allegations of a toxic workplace inside the Phoenix Suns organization under then owner Robert Sarver. Interviews with Phoenix Suns employees described a hostile workplace of misogyny, racism, and sexism during Sarver's tenure as owner. The NBA immediately launched an investigation over the allegations. The investigation hung over the organization like a black cloud until September of 2022, when the league announced that they were suspending Robert Sarver for a year and fining him $10 million for his conduct. But that punishment wasn't good enough for the public. One of the Suns' minority owners called for Sarver's resignation, and PayPal, the team's jersey patch sponsor, said it wouldn't continue their partnership with the team if Sarver returned after his suspension. Less than a week later, Sarver announced that he had started the process of selling the team. This all played out the month before the season was set to begin, and as the season got underway, it was clear this wasn't the same team that had won 64 games. A viral bench argument between Williams and Aton in mid-December showed another instance of a frayed relationship between the starting center and coach. They downplayed the incident, but the hurt feelings clearly still lingered from that fateful Game 7. By the time the new year came around, they were hovering around 500 and fell as low as 3 games under 500 in mid-January. But once again, the real action was happening off of the court. In late December, it was announced that mortgage executive Matt Ishbia had agreed to buy the Phoenix Suns and Mercury for $4 billion. Ishbia, who played on Michigan State's 2000 national championship team, would be making the largest franchise purchase in NBA history. The transaction was officially completed in early February, just before the trade deadline. That wasn't an accident. The new owner saw a chance to make his mark with a big swing, and he made sure he'd close the deal. He alluded to a potential big swing in his introductory press conference.
They've done a heck of a job, right? They've done a heck of a job building an amazing team. I'm not walking into a team so I feel like we can compete right now with exactly what we have. With that being said, my belief system is about how do we focus on winning? Can we improve our chances of winning a championship? Can we do things to make sure that, but I'm not just a short-term thinker, I'm also a long-term thinker.
Days after assuming control of the organization, Ishbia helped engineer a franchise-altering trade to acquire Kevin Durant. Phoenix would trade Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks and a pick swap for Kevin Durant and TJ Warren, which ended up getting roped into a 14 deal. KD's departure marked the end of a disastrous superstar experiment in Brooklyn, where he had teamed up with James Harden and Kyrie Irving. They only played 16 games together, with all eventually requesting a trade out of town. Now the Phoenix Suns were doing something similar by giving up quality starters and immense draft capital for a superstar. Due to various injuries, Kevin Durant only played in 8 regular season games, but the Suns won every game with him in the starting lineup. They played well enough down the stretch to finish 45-37 and earn the West's 4 seed. In the first round, they dispatched the Clippers in 5 games, but Kawhi Leonard only played in 2 games while Paul George missed the entire series. In the second round against Denver, Phoenix won a pair of close games thanks to big games from Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but ultimately lost to the eventual champions in 6 games. Unlike in 2022, Phoenix Suns began to make major changes early in the 2023 season. Matt Ishbia made the decision to fire Williams immediately after losing the Denver series and had GM James Jones make the move official 2 days days later. In early June, Phoenix had their new head coach when they hired Frank Vogel. By the end of the month, the Suns had doubled down on their desire to add more star power in the first major move of the offseason. Phoenix acquired Bradley Beal along with Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd from Washington in exchange for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, 6 second-round picks, and 4 first-round pick swaps. In total, the Phoenix Suns gave up 3 quality starters from their finals team and just about every draft pick they could for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. The deal gave them a fearsome trio of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, but also left them without control of any of their draft picks until 2031. Just like the Kawhi Leonard, Paul George Clippers and Durant's Nets, losing was not an option as they stripped the cupboard bare of draft capital in order to go all in on superstar talent. They got back a couple of second-round picks from Memphis in exchange for first-round swaps and Isaiah Todd, but they ended up losing a second-round pick when the NBA penalized them for tampering with free agent Drew Eubanks. Eubanks was one of a few players who Phoenix signed to modest contracts in order to fill out their bench. With limited resources to add to the roster, the Suns also signed Eric Gordon, Yuta Watanabe, and Bol Bol to smaller deals. In mid-October, just before the season was set to start, the Phoenix Suns made their last big move. They jumped into the Damian Lillard trade, dealing away DeAndre Aton, who soured on the organization, while receiving 4 players to help fill their depth: Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. The Suns figured dumping a disgruntled Aton for a slight position downgrade and more depth would fit better with their big 3. That move also left Devin Booker as the only remaining player from their 2021 finals team. There had been a lot of movement between last season's trade deadline and the 2023 offseason, but the belief was Phoenix had the top-tier talent and good enough depth to be a contender. They entered the season with the 3rd best championship odds, but unfortunately for the Suns, they would be the furthest from that. The first sign of trouble from this season was when Bradley Beal was ruled out of the season opener with a back injury. Then, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal were ruled out of their second game and again for their third game. Beal ended up sitting out the Suns' first 7 games before finally debuting in an overtime win versus the Bulls. He only played in 2 more games before exiting the lineup after the team announced that he'd be reevaluated in 3 weeks as he rehabbed from a lower back strain. Beal finally returned in mid-December in their win over Golden State. However, he got through just 1 more game before going down with an ankle injury against the New York Knicks. He has appeared in just 6 games this season. Meanwhile, Devin Booker has missed 9 games so far this season. As you might imagine, this led to Phoenix limping out of the gate. The Suns' first 10 games were rough as they went just 4-6 as Booker and Beal combined to only play in 5 of those games. But they followed that up with a 7-game winning streak once Booker returned that stretched just past Thanksgiving. This was their most consistent stretch of playing with the same lineup as Devin Booker showcased his evolving playmaking skills while averaging a career high in assists. However, this incredible stretch wouldn't last as things were about to go from bad to way worse. Since this incredible stretch, the Phoenix Suns have gone 4-9 as players like Kevin Durant, Yusuf Nurkic, and of course Bradley Beal have been shuffled in and out of the lineup. While Bradley Beal could return soon, the building frustration of losing has grown more noticeable in the organization. Eric Gordon, who figured to become an important player on a team with limited depth and constant injuries, recently told Bleacher Report's Chris B. Haynes that he wants a bigger role. With Bradley Beal out, he's been the 3rd leading scorer, but said lately, I haven't been getting hardly any touches really, as his shot attempts have gone down each and every month. And again, this is before he gets even more touches taken away from him when Bradley Beal is back in the lineup consistently. And then there's Kevin Durant, who's had to up his distributing skills, including a career-high 16 assists in their win over Houston. Woj reported around Christmas on the frustration that's been building with KD and Phoenix's organization.
Let's start with Kevin Durant. You talk to people in Phoenix and around that organization, you know, they can feel the frustration with Durant. Part of that certainly is the missed games for Brad Beal. This team was built around those 3 stars. The underwhelming supporting cast that comes from those massive trades for Durant and Bradley Beal that really gutted the organization and left them, you know, having to sign a lot of minimum players to fill out the payroll.
Kevin Durant responded to the report in classic KD fashion on an Instagram comment, before deleting it later, as he's shown time and time again. Kevin Durant has a limit to his patience even with multiple years left on his contract. The Sun saga is turning out eerily similar to the one that played out with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. They devoted a large portion of the team's salary to 3 players who have historically averaged well over 20 points per season, albeit with fewer individual accolades. They have limited their ability to improve the roster around their top talent, owning possibly the worst draft pick situation in the entire NBA. The Suns are nowhere close to playing like an elite team. Even if Beal's injury is playing an outsized role, Brooklyn found themselves devoid of resources when trying to build around Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. Just like KD's Brooklyn teams, Phoenix now finds themselves chasing their own tail. Matt Ishbia wanted a big superstar swing, and that required giving up major contributors and future draft picks. But losing those resources hinders their ability to make other meaningful moves and increases dependence on fewer players. And when those players are out for any reason, whether it's for personal reasons in Brooklyn or a back injury in Phoenix, the team's performance suffers. In an ironic twist, the only way the Nets were able to rebuild their resources was trading each one of those 3 players away. And there's already been speculation about Phoenix doing this. Just look at this proposal that would send Kevin Durant to the Los Angeles Lakers. Do you imagine a 39-year-old LeBron James teaming up with Kevin Durant on the Los Angeles Lakers? I could dream, can't I? Because giving up Kevin Durant or any move that isn't a win now move is difficult to justify when they don't have control of their future drafts. After being at the center of a superstar failure in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant might be in the middle of another one in the desert. Bradley Beal's return is the best and may be the only pathway towards improvement. The Phoenix Suns need to see their 3 best players together before ruling this group a failure, but a disaster is brewing. Kevin Durant's unhappiness has preceded drastic change before, and unless Phoenix turns this around, it can happen again. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are the Phoenix Suns truly a disaster? Was the Kevin Durant trade worth it? Should they have kept Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges to begin with? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.